you're a smart guy. You have almost as much experience in this industry as I do.
Mm-hmm.
And if you firmly believe that, you have reasons, I will trust in that.
Come on and visit for any occasion. Don't keep patting down waiting. Comics and conversation. Keep the conversation moving along. Keep reading comics, keep your local store strong. If it's hard, then it's a job for the challengers. Comics and conversation, y'all.
From Challengers Comics and Conversation in Chicago, this is Contest of Challengers. And now, here are Patrick Brower and W. Dal Bush.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, Patrick.
While we're recording this, it is 2017.
Still.
And while it's going to go up on New Year's Eve, it's more than possible people listening will be listening to it in a new year. A fresh, exciting, clean slate.
Yeah, hopefully 2018 is better than 2017.
There's so many new comics that are going to be coming out. Comics that haven't even been made yet that will debut in 2018 and hopefully knock our socks off.
I hope so. I'm always excited about what's coming out in the new catalogs.
And
there's so many new catalogs left to be seen.
Right? And while this is a time of reflection or a time for making resolutions.
Sure.
Contemplation, thank you.
Throw that one
Looking ahead, this is not what we're doing. What we're doing is business as usual.
Yeah,
full steam ahead.
Yeah.
We've streamlined everything we're doing. Last week we talked about Christmas sales, and we had a solid 6 days of Christmas sales.
Yep.
And I was happy for them.
Sure, better than not having them, absolutely.
Sure. And today I made the mistake of comparing them to last year.
Oh, no.
And last year's Christmas sales lasted a few more days. It wasn't just 6, but it was barely double digits.
Yeah.
But those days crushed everything we did this year.
Yep.
Christmas Eve last year was 3 times what Christmas Eve was this year.
Yeah, I wonder what day of the week was it, do you remember?
It was a Saturday.
Okay. I wonder if that maybe has something to do with it. I think it being on a Sunday and the weather being what it was, but that's, three times is still 3 times.
I think it's, a lot of it's the weather that you had this year. Because we were doing good.
It snowed the entire day.
Snowed the entire day, and people just stopped coming in.
And sun up to midnight, it just snowed the entire day.
While it wasn't accumulation of any significance, the first snowfall of the season is the one that freaks everybody out because they forget how to do things, how to thrive in that type of weather.
And there was accumulation. Like, it wasn't like, snowdrifts or nothing.
It was 2 inches.
Yeah, you saw it on the sidewalks. You saw some of it on the streets. Not a whole lot, but enough.
But 2 inches isn't enough to really bother anybody.
It shouldn't, anyway.
Today we were supposed to get up to 5 inches, and we got a little bit, but it's not sticking in the streets, which is the important part.
True.
And today we almost doubled Thursday.
Yay!
Well, that would be great if it wasn't a normal Friday.
Sure.
I mean,
sure.
It wasn't like, oh my god, what a great Friday. Like, no, we did okay for Friday.
Sure, that's good.
Yeah, that Thursday was not good. I was very optimistic for our Christmas sales, and I had a number that I wanted us to get to, and we didn't get to it.
No.
And it wasn't like, oh, my hopes and dreams. It was what we needed to maintain.
Yep.
And it made me do some adjustments today with the financials, and rather than concentrate on this one thing, I broke it up and did a bunch of little things.
Sure.
And
that's probably a good idea.
It wasn't a good idea, but it had to get done rather than wait. Sure. I'm like, well, let's take care of everything else first.
Sure.
And see where that gets us to. I was gonna do a 2 days short of a year-end total to see what we are from last year, but I would rather wait and talk about that.
Yeah, I'll
when it's officially the end of the year.
I'll do it Monday. I'll probably do that, and I'll do start doing inventory.
Inventory, yeah, it's that time.
I should have some time on Monday.
It's that time.
Should go pretty fast.
My estimate is we're going to be between 6 and 7% down from 2016. Any guesses on your part?
No. I look at the monthly numbers. I usually don't look at the yearly totals a whole lot. So, yeah, that sounds accurate to me.
I don't think we'll get to 7, but I think we'll be in the mid-6s.
Sure. Yeah, that sounds realistic.
But again, we'll talk more about that next time.
Yeah.
While this is technically still December, it's kind of January, so I would like to take this moment to thank our Patreon subscribers in the thank you category level. And those include my brother George Brower, Artie White, and his 2 new children. Well, 1 new child and 1 previous one, and his wife, but I don't think the whole family listens. Who knows? Do you know?
I don't.
I don't know.
Be sure to ask next time.
Michael Romanenko, the entire Springham family, Jose Villagomez, Thomas Nagovin, and brand new patron Mitchell Davies from All Star Comics in Australia. And Mitchell has kind of his own podcast. There's a podcast he's a part of called the Radioactive Lounge. And Mitchell, why are you subscribing? Why are you? We're not subscribing. Of course, you should subscribe. You should all rate, review, and subscribe, like they say. But Mitchell, why are you patronizing this? You have your own store to deal with. I feel like we need to do something like maybe have him on as a infrequent correspondent just to balance that out.
Yeah, whatever you want.
Something like that. But thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.
We only lost, to my knowledge, 1 patron during all of this upheaval with all of their fee structures and whatnot, which they, of course, went back on.
They did.
And we have a lot of new ears on this podcast since we've been putting the podcast in more places, thanks to Libsyn and what they do with as far as branching out. This posts also to not only to our regular Libsyn page, and we post it on the Challengers page, or the Challengers website, which is where contestofchallengers.com goes. But also it now goes to Facebook and Twitter, and a YouTube video is created for it each week, which I used to do by hand, and it would take me forever, because that thing would buffer forever when it was loading. To know that you do it with just a push of a button.
Crazy.
Oh my goodness. So it actually, I looked at the numbers in the last 2 weeks that we've done this, and our listening has gone up to a noticeable degree.
That's great.
So welcome, everybody.
Hey, everybody.
This is Contest of Challengers, a comics industry business podcast, part of the Yak Channel Podcast Network here in Chicago. I am Patrick Brower.
I'm W. Dale Bush.
We own Challengers Comics and Conversation in the city of Chicago, and we use this podcast to talk to you about how business is going, what industry news affects how we order and how we run our business, and just the day-to-day of running a comic shop. And part of that includes store reviews, whether it be on Facebook or Google or Yelp.
Sure.
And we are fortunate that we get a lot of great reviews from people that shop with us, and we thank you, and that's very kind.
Right, got a 5-star review today.
We did. We got one today. And we also got a 1-star review today.
Yeah, those are rare.
And there's a thing that I've noticed is that the 1-star review people usually have a reason. A lot of the 5 stars are just 5 stars, and that's it.
Yeah, somebody said something nice,
Yeah.
or just hit a little review button.
Just hit the 5 stars.
That's great.
Today we got a 1-star review because we don't interact with the customers. And it's funny you say that, because we don't. When you come in, we greet you. We greet everybody who comes in.
In fairness, I did not greet anyone at the store today.
Yeah, you didn't work today.
I didn't talk to anybody.
But in general...
Maybe that's what they meant.
In general...
Dal didn't say hi to me.
Everybody's greeted when they come in, and we say goodbye to them as well.
Sure.
Now, if you're in a group of people, we leave you alone. If you look like you know what you want, we leave you alone. If you look like you're lost or confused, we'll come up to you and say, hey, can I help you find something? You know, we're not pushy salespeople. We assume you are there for yourself or whatever, you know what you're doing. And unless there's an issue, no pun intended, we leave you to it. Today we had 2 gentlemen and a young child in, and we said hello when they came in. And I was running back and forth to the other end of the store. I was working on a very small project over by the supplies. And I needed to keep going out to get the verbiage right for a sign I was making or make some measurements. So I was frequently going back to the back of the store and then coming back behind the counter, writing notes down, writing something on the computer, what have you. And they were in the store for, I want to say, like 15 minutes. But they were talking amongst themselves. The kid was having a good time. When they came up to the counter with their purchases, and a few times I walked past, like if I had to scoot past them, I always say, pardon me, or excuse me, as I go past. As they were getting rung up, Donovan was ringing them up, and I was, at this point, in Sidekicks. And I heard the young boy say that it was his first time in the store.
Oh, nice.
And so Donovan talked to him about that. And one of the older people corrected him, and he first said, "This is my first time at a comic store." Like, no, it's your first time in this store. So they're like, "Oh, well, thanks. I'm glad you're here." And as I came back out, then I was behind the first counter when you come in as they were leaving. And so the last gentleman there was just in a t-shirt. I'm like, "Hey, man, stay warm and Happy New Year." And he put on a big smile and came back in a few steps, leaned over, shook my hand, said Happy New Year, and left.
Mm-hmm.
That's the guy that gave us the 1-star review for not interacting with people.
Yeah, which, I mean, even if it's a thing where you don't feel like you got the interaction you were looking for, 1 star? Really? I mean, not everything has to be the best ever or the worst ever, It doesn't have to be all 1-star and 5-star reviews. There's places I've been where it's like, I didn't have a great experience, but they had what I was looking for. Or, they didn't have what I was looking for, but, they offered to get it for me, whatever. Those can be 2, 3, and 4-star reviews. It's like no one does those. It's just, oh, I didn't have the greatest experience of all time, or I didn't feel like I got the conversation I was looking for, 1 star. That feels like an unfair review.
Sure. These places, apps, websites, whatever you want to call them, encourage you to confront or converse with the review leaver.
Yeah.
Yelp especially is like, hey, why don't you, talk to the person about the review? When you do that, it feels like you have a connection, and I don't want people doing that. Like, if I leave a review for Juan's Auto, which I have, they're my mechanic, I don't need Juan saying, thanks for the review.
Yeah, one time I'd had a poor experience at a Noodles & Company, and so I'd, through their online tip section or whatever, I'd sent them a response saying that I had not had a good experience, and here was why. And it was largely just to say, like, look, this is something you need to correct in your restaurant, not, I'm furious and make me feel better. But I got a phone call the next day from the manager of that particular branch of Noodles & Company, which no longer exists. No fault of mine. Basically doing the, we're so sorry, what can we do to make this right? And I expressed to him, I'm like, look, I just wanted you to know that this was going on. Like, if you say you're going to correct it, that's what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not done with your restaurant. I'm not boycotting Noodles & Company. I'm not going on social media telling everyone ahead of time. Like, I just want you to know that this is happening and that it should be addressed. That's it. And then it was a lot of, like, come in with your family. We'll take care of your meal. I'm like, I don't want you to do that. That's not necessary. That's not why I did this. And it was...
And the last thing you want to do is call attention to yourself as, hi, I'm the guy that gave you the bad review.
I don't want anyone at that restaurant knowing that I, shit-talked their whatever problem I had to corporate or whatever. I don't want that. That's not... it's one of the reasons why I almost didn't do it in the first place is, like, this is not a whole restaurant problem. This is maybe a one-shift problem. And I've been at places where something kind of trickles down from above and it becomes a whole restaurant or a whole store kind of problem. But I'm like, look, this is a thing that's happened a few times. I want to make sure that it doesn't happen again.
And it wasn't the rudeness of a customer, of an employee.
The food was prepared incorrectly a few times on one specific order that I'd gotten a few different times. And it was a thing that other times I'd gone in, it was fine. If I went in a particular time of night on a particular day, it was invariably not done correctly. So I wanted them to know, like, hey, this is, not only is it not a good experience, I couldn't eat this. Like, you guys fucked it up. Like, that's not good.
Yeah.
But while that store manager was supposed to contact someone who'd written this sort of elaborate complaint, I didn't just go through and, 1 star... food no good. Like, I went through and explained, like, here's what happened, and here's how I can tell that this is a thing that needs to be addressed. He's supposed to reach out to someone like that and explain, how they're fixing the situation and make restitution. And I explained to him, I'm like, look, I'm still coming in there for food. Like, this isn't a problem that is going to see you losing my business. It's just a thing where you can do it a little better. But the whole interaction, while he's supposed to be doing it, made me so uncomfortable. I'm like, I regret doing this now. This is not how you're supposed to be making me feel. And maybe that's me than him. But it's a situation where if the risk is reaching out to someone could either make them feel gratified or horrified, maybe don't do it.
Right, but do you think there's an in-between where somebody will feel unheard if you don't acknowledge it?
I think
because I'll give you this on Facebook. When we get a good review, and most Facebooks are just, they're not even comments, they're just a like or 5 stars, whatever.
Sure.
I'll click the like button.
Okay.
As the store. We ordered food at the start of this recording, hoping it would take a little time to get here. It was an estimated delivery of 40 minutes, and we've been recording for 15 minutes, and we just got a call that the food was here. So it's going to be an interesting experiment because we're recording on my phone, but he also called my phone, to which I specifically put a note saying, call Dal's phone, not mine. Like, use this number. And they called my phone. So that interestingly ties into our customer service review section. Am I going to leave them a bad review because they called the wrong phone? No. Well, Dal, we were talking about customer service and reviews and the irony of the fact that we specifically asked the delivery driver to call your phone during this, and they didn't. They called my phone.
Correct.
But overall, I guess we were talking about reviews, and time has passed, people. We took a break, so
I mean, to get back
dinner
to,
could be eaten.
I don't know what you were telling people as I was going down to get food.
That whole thing about the different phone number and how they didn't do it, but I'm not going to leave them a 1-star review.
Sure. Getting back to what we were talking about, I think generally when someone leaves a review, you can kind of tell if they're expecting like a response or not. If it's a positive one, you can always just say like, oh, thanks, or whatever. If it's someone who is just leaving a bad review and just they don't give you any information, like they're just complaining. If someone expects a response, they usually have a much longer review, and which is ironic because that's what I did for Noodles and Company, and I absolutely did not want a response. So I can see why they thought I might.
Earlier in 2017, we got a 1-star Google review from somebody with no comment, and we didn't recognize the name or the picture, and to this day, we have no idea why.
Yeah.
And I guess, we talked about people who leave 1-star reviews usually have a reason. I guess maybe tell the reason?
Yeah, you're not obliged to, but
we're not going to win over everybody, and while we think we have the best comic book store, everybody who runs a comic book store thinks they have the best store, and ultimately, all we can do is work on the people that choose to shop with us.
Yeah.
And as Dal pointed out before, later in the day, we got a 5-star review.
So that happened.
And during the span of the day, we got 2 really nice compliments from people. One guy was coming in from out of town and had great things to say. Another guy shops at a different store in the city that's really far up north, but he makes it a point to come out to us every month or so to see what his store doesn't have and what he's missing.
Cool.
I mean, there's always somebody that likes what you're doing.
Uh-huh.
And, that's we run the best store that we think we can run.
Uh-huh.
And if people like it, that's great. There was an article that I saw today that I started reading but didn't finish because it's long, and I was reading it on my phone in bed this morning, and also it's kind of depressing. It's basically the death knell for the bookstore, and how there's a chain that just closed, or they're closing at the end of this year, and they were the 4th largest bookseller in America, and now with them going away, Amazon moves into that space.
Sure. I'm surprised Amazon isn't number 1 already.
Yeah, right? And I can't remember the quote, and I can't look it up because I'm using my phone, but it's convenience has made everyone impatient and is eroding our tastes.
Okay.
That wasn't... I'm getting it wrong.
You're paraphrasing.
Yeah. Convenience changes our expectations and then erodes our tastes. And this is now the 3rd time we've had to start this podcast, because while I can answer a phone call on this program and it still records, I can't jump to a different app. It shuts off. So there'll be a lot of editing, and for the sake of the Christmas holiday and getting everything done last week, I didn't post the raw audio up on Patreon. And now this time it's 3 separate files.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Anyway, basically the point is all the major bookstore chains are going away, but it's the small local independent bookstores that are the ones that'll thrive.
Yeah,
And-
we've said it 100 times
Yeah.
that we expect comic book stores and I guess by association bookstores to follow the record store model, where once upon a time there were nationwide record store chains, and then there were, huge local record stores, and then it just became a thing of like, a big city's going to have a bunch, a small town may have one, everything outside of that's going to have nothing. Like, yeah, pretty much.
Even if record stores were commonplace, the way the music industry has changed, and specifically the way the music I listen to is not readily available. And just today, on a bit of a downtime, I did some digging to see what's coming up that I like that I can expect.
Mm-hmm.
And I came across a Warrant cover of the song Heaven. Do you remember Heaven?
Sure. Heaven isn't too far away.
It isn't too far away, but
Do I remember Warrant, Patrick? Of
Sure.
course I do.
but in the song, Janie Lane is singing to a young girl.
Mhm.
Well, this cover
Uh-huh.
was that young girl doing her own version of this.
Oh, interesting, because now she's like 42.
His his now 20-year-old daughter
Okay.
did a cover,
That's nice.
and she enunciates way too clearly
Sure.
for that song. She's got a I don't know, just
Different cadence.
mess it up a little bit. She doesn't.
Sure.
She doesn't have to.
Too precise.
She overpronounces her words.
Sure.
Which is great in conversation, not necessarily the best in a song.
when you're singing a
But
country-tinged rock song
It-
ballad.
it's still weird that he's been gone since 2011.
Yeah, it's true.
I've outlived Jenny Lane. I'm older than he ever was.
High five.
What?
Going back to what you were talking about before, we were talking about Warrant.
I was talking about even if I could go into record stores, I wouldn't be able to find the CDs I wanted.
Well, I was going to say, getting people.
No, I want people to pity me.
Getting people to go to places and buy things is so difficult to do now. Like, that's every business is having to deal with that. One of the reasons why something like MoviePass cropped up is that people were not going to theaters, buying movie tickets, and watching movies. When Netflix is launching a $90 million blockbuster starring Will Smith directly into people's homes the weekend before Christmas, what's motivating people to go out to the theaters? Like, and that's not counting everything else that people have on Netflix and Hulu, and then what you can read for free online, and blogs and whatever else, and pardon me, the music that people have access to on Spotify and Apple Music and Pandora and whatever else. Like, the whole thought of like going outside of your house to a place, looking through the things they have, picking one, buying it, going home, it's so foreign to people now. Like, between everything I just mentioned and then having Amazon just bring it to your door. Just looking on Amazon, finding the thing you want, ordering it, getting it anywhere between later that day and 2 days from now. Like, it's absolutely changing the way people's expectations are built and fulfilled.
Josh Blaylock came by the store today from Devil's Due, First Comics, and we were talking about the upcoming Comics Pro meeting, and I was telling him what I think he's going to hear a lot of from retailers, and it's everybody's facing the same things of we have less people coming in for the product, and there's more product for people to fight for. And Josh said something that we've said before, is that now there is so much great content out there that has to fight for audience, viewership, for readers, and we have to fight for people to come in. And it's not that there's less people reading comics, it's there's less people reading comics by buying them at a store, and we need to reach new readers, but we have to get the younger readers who don't know that you can go into a store and buy this thing and get it on a regular basis and read it and like it. They're not used to being exposed to media that way. But I mean, that's a thing that's been said thousands of times over the last couple of years on this podcast and elsewhere. We just have to get the younger audience, like my nephew Parker, who he of Parker's Picks, reads any comic we give him, doesn't necessarily seek comics out.
Yeah, he doesn't
Now-
ask for anything.
Well,
he doesn't
he doesn't have to because his dad and his uncle take care of it, but he never says, "Oh, I like Champions. Can we get some more Champions?"
Right. They just he'll whatever's provided to him, he'll read.
Yeah, and he's a kid that gets so much of his entertainment from YouTube.
Sure.
How do we capitalize on that? How do we go to the YouTube
Well,
market and say,
This is weirdly something I was talking to someone at Image about. Like, one of the things that comics needs as a medium is, and I'm sorry I'm coughing so much.
yeah, man, we probably shouldn't ever record after you eat.
I have to clear my throat so much after I have a meal like that it's otherwise my throat's just kind of like lock up. One of the things that's helped the video game industry a whole lot is streamers, is people on YouTube doing Let's Play videos, or people on Twitch playing games, showing them to people, and having people say, okay, I want to play that game now. I've seen it being played. It's been demoed for me. It's been, the person hosting it is adding entertainment value to it, and it makes it seem like something I want to check out. And then people go and they go onto Steam or whatever, and they buy the game that the person was playing, or they, download the game to their console. Now, it's difficult with comics because, one, comics isn't necessarily something you can film someone reading and have it be entertaining.
Let's do that. And have it be entertaining.
And
that's where you lose people.
Additionally, the immediacy of, I saw this thing on YouTube, now I can go buy it immediately from the same computer I'm watching, or phone I'm watching YouTube on. You can't really do that with comics and get the immediate experience. I guess you can digitally, but that doesn't help us. But maybe it would, because I think the idea of having like an influencer, like someone who actually has some sort of, fan credibility to hype books, to get people into stuff, would help the industry tremendously. Like, I'm sure there's people out there doing things like that, weekly review shows, whatever. I know some stores do them. But it doesn't seem like there's anyone, like, bubbling above everything else that has a voice of authority that's able to make or break a book or add on visibly to sales by saying, hey, I got the new Image series Gideon Falls, and oh my god, you guys, it's so great, you gotta go out to your stores and get it. And then the next day we get people calling us saying, hey, do you have Gideon Falls #1? Like, we don't see anything like that from anything in media.
To a much smaller scale, that's exactly the point of what I wanted Parker's Pick to be.
Sure.
I wanted Parker, then a 9-year-old child, to be reading books appropriate for 9-year-old children, and to put it on this form of media that other people of his age group would see, and then perhaps be interested in that book in itself. And Parker's Pick ran for like 240 some odd episodes, and I can't remember anybody coming in and saying, hey, I saw this on Parker's Pick.
Sure.
I mean, it was great when creators would see it and share it,
right,
and more eyeballs got on it. We got a ton of eyeballs when Scotty Young retweeted about it when Parker reviewed a Scotty book. But on the one hand, the reviews weren't necessarily super timely, which they didn't have to for all ages books.
Sure.
And we tried to get him to go toward graphic novels, but he started doing it when he was 9. He quit doing it when he was 14, so that's a solid run.
Yeah, I would say.
But yeah, it, like, literally what you just said about needing an influencer, because I don't know what credibility we have to people that don't know us. Like, we
zero.
can't do a thing and say, oh my god, you guys should read Yotsuba, it's so great, and have people outside of our sphere of influence care.
Someone in Omaha couldn't care less what we think about Yotsuba.
Sure. We love it, though, for the record.
I do, so much.
I said we?
Yeah, I was going to say something and then we got thrown off. Oh, golly. The closest thing I can really think of to someone who, by talking about a book can move the needle and get people to go buy it is, someone at Bleeding Cool. But they're not saying the book is good, go buy it, and that motivates people. They're saying the book is going to be valuable, and that gets people to go to stores. That gets them to call their stores and find out if we're going to have something that's coming out the next day that apparently has been, massively misprinted, or, features the first appearance of a character that no one knew was coming. Whatever. But that's, I guess that helps sales, but that's not...
It's not long-term sales.
Yeah, it's not repeatable. It's a fluke.
Out of order.
It's just, scratching off a winning lottery ticket.
It's an impulse buy. It's not a, oh my god, you should read this series.
Right.
If that was the case, books like Hawkeye or, what's another good canceled book?
Gwenpool.
Gwenpool would have audience, like a much bigger audience, because there's people who love that book, who talk about it on social media and around the world, and it's not connecting.
Yeah, and I mean, I read reviews on some other non-comic sites, like when they'll talk about a book or they'll review something. AV Club does a lot of comics reviews. They won the Eisner for journalism last year. But reading that stuff, I never see a correlation between then someone coming in saying, hey, do you have this graphic novel? And they don't even have to say, because I read about it in the AV Club, because I would go, oh, that was just in the AV Club, and now the next day someone's asking for it. I never see that. And yet you look at the back of any graphic novel that comes out, and there's, 1 to 10 pull quotes and reviews from, websites or podcasts or whatever. And, I never see a correlation there. I never see anything spike sales in something. It might be affecting people, like they might hear a review and then months later decide to buy it. But there's nothing I can ever point to and go, yeah, as soon as that book got talked about by this person on this site at this time, that's when people looked at it. That's when they said, I got to check that book out.
And recently there have been a couple of non-comic publications that have published the best comics of 2017 lists. Mm-hmm. And I didn't look at all of them.
No, there's a lot.
But it's great that they're doing that, but it also doesn't seem to get people who don't read comics to say, I should start reading comics.
Well, this is the tricky thing with some of that stuff is that, for a lot of the things we're talking about, it may be working, but in ways that stores can't capitalize on. It could be people who see a review for something and go, oh, cool, I'm going to get that on Amazon. Because they're reading it on their phone or they're reading it on a computer. So it's very easy for them to go, oh, I hadn't heard of this series. Let me check that out. Oh, here's the buy link on Amazon. Great, I'll get it tomorrow. Or, oh, this sounds like a cool new Marvel comic. Oh, Comixology. Boom. All right, great. I'll read it tonight on my iPad. So, if those things didn't exist, maybe we'd be seeing the effect of all of these different places reviewing things.
Okay. It's a neighborhood street. Houses, trees, a young child, let's say an 11-year-old boy is darts out in front of in across the street, and we see a car barreling down on him, and out of nowhere a guy runs and grabs the kid, pulls him out of the way at the last second, puts the kid down on the other side of the street and says, oh, you should be careful, whatever, and he turns away. And this kid looks at the guy like he's a superhero, this guy's amazing, he just saved my life. So he follows him. And as this guy's walking down the block, the kid follows him for a block or two, and the guy goes into a comic store. So the kid goes in the comic store as well, and the screen gets huge with all the amazing comics on the wall and things, and he looks around, and then he sees the guy behind the counter working the store. That guy's a hero. Boom, it's a comic commercial.
Okay.
That'd get kids to read comics, right?
I don't know where kids would see commercials, but okay, sure.
On YouTube. It's a YouTube commercial.
Oh, okay. I don't think we have the budget for that.
Every single Facebook ad, video that you're watching on Facebook,
Pitch Your Comics Pro.
15 seconds in, it cuts to your 15-second ad.
Sure.
And then you get the rest of your video afterwards. Because, you can't put ad blockers on your phone.
Sure.
So, there. Off the top of my head,
okay,
that's just, as opposed to the commercial that my good friend Ben Goodman came up with when we were a news store, about, do you remember that one?
No.
Go to your happy place?
No.
I love it, and it's horribly inappropriate and would be pulled from the air immediately, but it's a child, a 3-year-old child on the floor under a table playing with cars, or actually, playing with action figures, making action figures, and you see the legs of the parents, and the parents are talking, and you can't hear what they're saying, but their voices become heated, a little angrier, and then you hear a loud smack, and everything gets quiet, and the kid starts to cry, and then it cuts to the logo of the store, and it says, Challengers, go to your happy place.
Yeah, that's probably not a good one.
I loved it, though. It was so great. I actually talked to George and Cheryl about making it with Parker, but he was just a little bit too old at that point. So, hey, we're open for good ideas. We have a good club member who's just getting into that kind of thing and video making. Maybe we can talk to him about filming some fun store commercials and seeing what happens.
Okay.
But anything to get the new generation in. One of the things that we do to try to get people to come in, because we hear more often that people want experience over stuff. So we try to give them both. We try to give them the opportunity to have an experience while also hopefully picking some things up while they're at the store. We do this by hosting a lot of different events. For example, we had Santa's husband signing, where you could get photos with Santa and his husband,
Yep.
as well as meet the creator and get the book signed. We have events all the time, but what we have coming up is we don't have anything in January so far.
Yeah.
We have nothing on the schedule. It's winter, it's going to be very cold, give some breathing room. That's not to say anything won't come up, but as of right now, we don't have anything for sure. And in February, we have our big sale.
We do.
Our I Love You But I've Chosen Comics 25% off sale.
Yep.
That's a reason to get people to come in, is to save money.
Sure.
And we love comics so much, we don't want to do anything during the year that devalues them, so we don't run sales normally. We did a Black Friday sale this time.
We don't do store-wide sales normally.
Yeah.
Like, we might, for Justice League Day, discount on Justice League stuff. For Harley Quinn Day, discount on Harley Quinn stuff. Like, things like that, sure, it happens. But a store-wide sale, a blanket discount, 1 week a year, that's it.
February 21st, we have a signing with Patrick Trahey for the new Alterna book, The 12. The 12 is only $1.50.
That's great.
$1.50 first issue, printed on newsprint, which who doesn't love comics on newsprint? And if you've never seen a comic on newsprint, now you can. And then we may have another signing later that month. But what I'm bringing up specifically is Women's Comics Month, which is the month of March 2018, also Women's History Month. Last year we did this where we tried to have a different woman or non-binary creator every calendar day of March. And we did good with like 23 days filled.
That's pretty good.
But we found that the majority of success was on the weekend days. Saturdays and Sundays had the biggest turnouts.
Yeah, having someone come in on Tuesday, which is our slowest day of the week, is a great recipe for them not doing as well as we would like them to do. And while even the people who exhibited on weekdays, we'd sent out a survey to the participating creators after the event was over to kind of ask them how it went. Almost everybody who was on a weekday was like, I would do a weekday again. That would be fine. But we looked at the numbers and we're just like, it just doesn't make as much sense. And we want to do things that give creators the best opportunities, not, an okay opportunity. So
what we decided to do was to stack creators and just have them in on Saturdays and Sundays. So we have the opportunity for 3 different creators to be in every Saturday and every Sunday over the month of March, starting on March 3rd, ending on March 31st. And we sent out a first round of invites this Wednesday. We already have more than half the dates filled.
It's great.
We have
every Saturday
we have a slate of new people and returning creators.
Cool.
The new people, I'm very excited for Rachel Bard.
Oh, excellent.
Rachel Bard has all those wonderful little mini comics of like a matchbook or a baby with a diaper, or and she's going to be the kickoff. She's on the first. She's on the 3rd. She's on the first day of the event.
That's great.
Another first-time creator is Emmy Tolabas. Forgive me, I got your name wrong. Emmy Tolabas, who we've only worked with before for our Rick and Morty event. She did a really great piece, and I know that she does a lot of the shows over at Toy du Jour.
Oh, cool.
And I'm very excited to see what else she has to offer. Wolf Lopez, who is a woman who I bought an ACLU charity piece from at Revolution during a show that Jim Terry was curating.
Cool.
It's a buffalo with a bloody handprint, and it says "No Dapple" on it.
Nice.
For the Dakota Access Pipeline. And she'll have comics. It'll be her first time exhibiting in the store. She was also part of Rick and Morty.
Cool.
By the way. but it'll be her first time exhibiting. Megan Rose Gedris
Oh yeah, Spectacle.
of Spectacle is a graphic novel she's got coming out at the end of May, but this is her with her other works and things, and Spectacle is an online comic as well. For the first time for Women's Comics Month, certainly not the first time in the store, Lucy Knisley
Oh, look at that.
will be appearing on a Sunday
Neato.
along with Sarah Beacon
Whoa.
on that same Sunday.
Wow, reunion.
Yeah, right?
Nice.
Two women who have done several events with us in the past.
Sure.
And, we have, like I said, more than half the dates filled already. Saturdays and Sundays.
It's great.
And this is shaping up to be a very fun time. Well, with the schedule that's out, what people are seeing is where friends of theirs are tabling. So Sage Coffee is like, oh my gosh, I love Megan Rose Gedris, is one of my closest friends. I'll be on the same day she's on.
That's great.
So they're building their own little communities.
Yeah.
You know?
Since we have basically 3 tables in a row for people to set up at, it gives it a little bit more of like a show feel where
Yeah.
people aren't just sitting there and it's us, trying to chatter with them during the day or, them sitting there while people come up to them. This way they can all sort of chatter with each other and have fun with each other and have a fun day with it while people are coming up or not coming up. Some of the people that I know had seemed like they were having more fun with the event were people who brought folks with them.
Yeah.
Not necessarily like another artist, but they brought a friend of theirs to help them table. And that led to, I think, less dead periods, Like at a show in general, you're not necessarily going to have people coming up to you the entire time you're at the show. So having someone sitting next to you who you can chatter with or whatever helps a lot.
We were worried about stacking people last year because we didn't want to be taking potential sales away from one person and having them fight amongst whatever dollar amount is there. However, that is not a thing that any of them think of. They don't think about it as potential money out of their pocket. They think at their fellow creator doing well.
Right.
So putting people on the same day is not an issue.
And the other thing to think of is that basically if one person is there, we're promoting it and they're promoting it. If 3 people are there, we're promoting it and all 3 of them are promoting it, which means that hopefully they're drawing in folks. Sage Coffee's bringing in people that might buy stuff from Megan Rose Gedris and vice versa, as opposed to them reaching out to their own fan bases who may or may not come out. They can all be introduced to other people.
And speaking of Sage Coffee, she was part of it last year. Other returning participants include Andrea Bell,
Cool.
Stephanie Mydad, who did the art for us
Which
for
looks
this.
great.
And honestly, it's good enough to keep if we keep using the event.
If she's okay with it, I imagine we would use
Yeah.
it probably in perpetuity.
Maybe, yeah.
Probably.
Bianca Eunice is
Cool.
coming back. I don't have the list in front of me, but
Well, and all
like
of
I
this,
said, we've got
once we nail everything down, later in January, we will probably release
a schedule.
at least a semi finalists. And
Yeah.
the thing we'll have to make clear on every list that we put up is subject to change. Please contact the store before showing up.
Yeah,
basically, there's always going to be people who call an audible, like, "Oh, I thought I could come this day and I can't. I have a family thing. Something's wrong with my cat. Whatever."
Yeah, and we had people also fill in at the last second last year as well.
There
So
were a few days that we did not advertise anyone for, and yet someone was like, "Hey, can I come in?" And we're like, "Sure."
if you look at the list that we printed up as the flyer, it didn't necessarily correspond.
No, and some stuff had to move around. Again, someone would say, I'm scheduled for like the 14th, but I can't make it then. Can I come in on the 20th?
Yeah.
So it's like, well, okay, yes. So
Yeah.
now that person is on a different day.
I think maybe the flyer this year should just be like Women's Comics Month featuring these people and a full schedule available online.
No, I mean, I'd still like to have something, like, we won't really print anything up until, nothing's going to go up in the window, I don't think, until right after the sale.
Okay.
Because the windows where we will put, like, sale stuff is where we'll probably end up putting the Women's Comics Month banners.
Okay.
So we'll just need to have something semi-locked in 2 weeks before. Like, we can
Sure.
we can print up flyers ahead of time, a week or two ahead of time, but I think by that point, we'll have a pretty good idea, enough like names to go like, these are the days, you know. So if you want to see Stephanie Meyer, she's this day. If you want to see Rachel Bard, she's this day. If you want to see Lucy Knisley, she's this day.
So that is the majority of March, and if any other events come up during the month, we'll definitely not have them on a Saturday.
No, that's true.
And then looking further ahead, while it's still December for us, looking for Free Comic Book Day in May, which will be Challenger's 11th Free Comic Book Day.
Goodness.
And I think, the 16th or 17th overall?
I think the first year was 2002, I want to say.
Yeah, the 17th.
17th.
And one of our goals is to always have a creator who has a Free Comic Day comic there. We talk about this all the time, but it's getting harder and harder to do that because people get locked in literally years in advance.
Everyone's figured it out. Like, we weren't the first ones to think of it, but it was a thing that we talked about a lot from the first year that we've been doing it. And now, I mean, there's only 50
books.
50 books?
Yeah.
And some of those have multiple people working on them, but some of them are folks that, I mean, are not accessible or don't, you know, aren't people that we can get to come in.
But we feel it's part of the experience of having someone who has a book there. And,
Sure.
and there was a year, it'll be 2 years ago, that we said, you know what? Let's make our own to get, and we'll have these creators for sure.
Yeah.
But this year we started early and we started asking around, and we've gotten a lot of no's.
Mm-hmm. At least we got a response.
Yeah.
There's been plenty of times that we've reached out to people and just heard nothing. And in fact, someone that we thought was just like either ghosting us or whatever came out and said, "Hey, everyone's been emailing the wrong address." Like, I don't check this email address, and I just checked it. Oh my god!
Yeah.
So we did get a response. It was a no, but at least, you know, we didn't think that they were ignoring us.
Like, all of our no's are people that already have prior commitments.
Yeah.
The one person we haven't heard back from is Patton Oswalt, but that was a long shot anyway.
Total long shot.
He has a book coming out, a Free Comic Book Day book this year, and while there is definitely not a hierarchy in the way we ask, we just think, oh, this person has a book, let's do it. And it's not like, oh, we'd rather have this person, they said no, it's on the list. It's literally the first person we think of, we ask. Yeah. And then we think of somebody else.
Yeah.
And as the books are announced, they did the gold books first.
Right.
And then they did the silver books. And we went through a bunch of people that are doing Free Comic Day books, and we got no's, mainly for prior commitments, or people have moved out of the country, and we are not in a position to pay to bring people in from out of the country.
Yeah, one of the big things about this, and it's not like a value system exactly, but it costs us a bunch of money to bring somebody out and put them up. So we have to consider, like, look, is this going to just be someone here signing and sketching that could be anybody, or is it going to be someone who adds a value to the event that gets people who wouldn't normally go to Challengers for Free Comic Book Day to make us a stop during their Free Comic Book Day? So we don't ask every single person who's got a book coming out, because unfortunately some people, we just don't feel like that's going to move the needle, that It's going to be a huge expenditure that is no different than if I was sitting there doing sketches of Spider-Man.
And we always had this idea, I think there's a Dal idea from a couple years ago that we've never used before, that we can bring somebody out and have a book to give away. It just may not be an official Free Comic Book Day labeled comic.
Yeah, you never seen that into it.
Well, only because it's double the price of those books.
It is, that's true, but I mean, some of the thought on that is that A, it could be something that we sell later. B, we just adjust some of the other stuff that we're doing.
Right.
You know?
Right. That's true. But people don't see that when they're getting free books. And
well, I guess I just mean, like, if the cost is being doubled, you know, for that particular book, that could only be a difference of, like, you know, $100.
And then there's a matter of where people are located, because it's much easier to get people from airport hubs, or definitely much easier to get somebody from, say, St. Louis.
Right.
When I say easier, I mean cost effective.
Yeah. Someone who's in, like, you know, Minnesota, Michigan, Missouri is way easier than someone who's in, like, Nova Scotia or, like, Brazil. Like, it can't happen. Can't make those numbers work.
So Dal today, after we got another round of this isn't going to work, Dal made a list of people outside of the Free Comic Day books that we could still work with. And
Some we've worked with before, some where it's like, oh man, that'd be awesome if we could get so-and-so, and they don't have a free comic book day comic, so maybe no one's asked them.
sure. So there's a bunch of people to go through. So I selected the first one and contacted that person, someone I have a previous relationship with. Very quickly, they got back and said, yeah, let's do it. So while we are not at a point that we are going to announce who this is,
I don't even know who it is.
Dal doesn't know who it is. All I can say is we are fixing to have a wonderful free comic book day this year.
That was one of the two people at the bottom where I'm like, I think this could work out. Like, these are two people where I think they would want to do it, and they probably don't have a commitment, and I think people might be excited about it.
Well, this is somebody who we've tried to get numerous times in the past. There's always been scheduling conflicts, but you and I will have the opportunity to talk with this person in person
What the?
in February.
Okay, cool.
So, yeah, very, very happy.
You know.
Very happy. We may even get a good... And I plan on visiting this person at work.
Yeah, okay,
at their
cool.
work. And I also, in my excitement, called the name of his studio the wrong name.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, very excited. So that's a thing coming up.
Portishead Studios. That's it, right?
Portastatic, right? Portastatic, is that
Uh-huh.
is that not what it is?
Toonhound.
Oh, what a time! Oh, what a time to be alive. You don't know it's not Scott Kurtz?
I don't. That's true.
Yeah?
Could be anything.
Yeah. This is an instance, since we're on our third recording for this podcast, I have no idea what the length is of this.
I think we're
episode.
around where we would normally.
I think
it off.
I think we're under. I think we're at about 50 minutes right now.
Okay.
But I mean, we don't ever like. Well, we got to hit an hour.
No,
we
but
don't.
usually we
stop.
look over and we look at the counter and we go, 58 minutes. Hey, let's start
Yeah,
winding
we're
this
good.
thing down.
We're good. I didn't write anything down for this episode specifically because I feel that the ones where I have a list, they don't flow.
Okay.
So I just had things in my head where I wanted to hit on the reviews. I wanted to hit on, because I was also, not only was I saving the identity of our free comic day person for this episode, I was saving the fact that Lucy and Sarah are going to be part
Yay!
of Women's Comics Month
Lucy Nisley.
as well.
Beaks.
A thing that did you ever call her Beaks?
Not out loud.
It took me a second. I'm like, what?
Not out loud. to
Oh,
her.
Sarah Beacon. That's what you mean.
In my head, though. Beaks.
Starting next week, we're going to make a minor change to how we rack the new all ages books for the week at the store. Rather than have them separated in sidekicks on their shelves, we're going to mix them in with everything else on the new release wall in Challengers.
Yeah. I don't think a lot of people go looking in sidekicks for new comics anyway.
No, I definitely don't.
So hopefully this is just more visibility.
And we already rack the new sidekicks graphic novels on the graphic novel shelf.
That is true.
In the main room. So, I mean, after the first week of sales, they'll go back into the normal place in sidekicks.
Same thing with, the new comics. They get filed in on their wall.
What do you think we can do to call more attention to the new release wall? Because multiple times this week we had people, like one today, but I saw one on Wednesday as well, where someone just doesn't realize that they're looking on the wall of books, but they don't realize, oh, the new ones are just down.
I don't know. I mean, I don't feel like there's a foolproof solution.
No.
I've been working in comics retail for 2 decades, and people will always miss stuff. They will always get lost. They will always look in the wrong section. There are always going to be people who need to be walked over to where something is and put in their hands, or they will never find it.
True.
So I don't think anything. I think our system works 99% of the time, which is the best you're ever going to get.
In that regard, did you notice the new signs I put up on the backer boards and the bags?
No.
Oh, wow. I did it over a week ago.
No.
Specifically to try to alleviate the taking bags from this shelf and boards from this shelf.
Sure.
The lip of each shelf,
Uh-huh.
and I put a lot of signs up. Each one says, current.
Oh, fantastic.
Like
I'll have to take a look at
5, each one is like a foot long.
Sure.
5 times down that row.
That's great.
5 times down the Silver Age.
Okay.
With descriptions of where, what they're good for.
Sure.
But what I wanted to put, but I didn't, was something that says, take the bags and the boards from this shelf only.
Don't start mixing and matching different levels.
But I couldn't figure out a way that explained that without it being more complicated.
Sure.
So I just made sure that they just say.
Sure.
And you have to. If you're too close, you're not going to see them. But they've been there for a bit, and we still had an issue. Like I said before, you and I catch it most of the time.
Right.
We had somebody come back that you had caught after the fact and
Yeah.
had to call them.
Yeah. I emailed them because I noticed after the fact. Can't remember why. Oh, I think because I was back in the supply section later in the day, and I noticed an empty space in one section, but something on the wall made me go, "Wait, this is not right." And then double checking,
You looked up the purchase history and saw it.
and I saw, oh, that person bought silver boards and current bags. That's not going to work.
Yeah, if anybody ever buys silver bags and current boards, fine.
Yeah, it's not ideal, but it can work. But the other way around cannot work.
Does not work. So we talked about that before, but I thought maybe a little more signage.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. We'll see. But just that subtle change of bringing the Sidekicks single issues out to the main wall is we've seen where these aren't going in the first week as we expected. So we're making a change to see if that increases visibility and awareness.
Sure.
And it's the little tweaks like that we've done every week since we've been open, trying to find a better way to get books in hands.
Yeah.
We wound up selling out this week of X-Men Grand Design again, and Amazing Spider-Man.
Okay.
I'm sure there's more, I just don't remember.
Which, I mean, we've talked about this before. I'm okay with.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm sure to people listening to this, it's like heresy to say, yes, I want to be out of these books that you're looking for, but man, like the only way to weather the storm of sales aren't great is do not have that many copies on the shelf if you can avoid it. Like, I'm sure it looks good for people to be able to come in on Monday or Tuesday and find a full rack of all of this week's new releases. Man, like that is a lot of money tied up that may or may not ever turn around.
Right.
So a lot of things have to have an eye towards, better to have to reorder it for somebody than have 5 or 6 copies on the shelf just in case. Can't do it. Those 5 or 6 copies add up, man. There's anywhere between 50 to 70 new titles each week that we have for the shelf, not just counting stuff that's subscription only, but physically on the New This Week comic shelves. So, yeah, you're having, even 2 or 3 extra copies of all of those books that may not sell is a lot of money tied up every single week. A lot.
Look at how something like Rick and Morty has just dried up again.
Yeah,
like
so
that book only sells when it's on the air.
I guess. So weird. Yeah, people cared about everything Rick and Morty until the show stopped running, and then they just forgot about it again.
Yeah, they moved on to something else, I guess.
Well, I guess 2 years from now we'll have that same boost.
Right? I just read The Newest Champions, which is the part 6 of Worlds Collide.
Yes.
And I like Champions a lot. I think it's a great book. I think it's one of the best books that Marvel's puts out.
Uh-huh.
I really feel that this should have been World's Finest Epilogue.
Well, not even that. It feels like part 6 of a 7-part series.
Yeah, but it's not.
No, there is no conclusion at the end of that comic book. It's a cliffhanger.
Yeah, but it's the Worlds Collide story ended last issue.
Yeah.
And if you are an Avengers fan who doesn't read Champions, the Avengers are barely in this issue.
Yeah, Vision. Vision's in it a lot.
Yeah.
That's about it.
But I really like, because pulling that book for people,
yeah,
that's an example of a book where we have to think long and hard about who's going to get this. And then I feel like anybody who gets it just because of the Avengers, maybe they shouldn't have gotten it.
Yeah.
But we don't know that when it comes out.
We've always been on the side of, I don't want to just pull it for everyone and risk getting caught with it by having people go, I don't want this, and now we've got a ton of copies on the shelf. But I feel like in the future, for stuff like Venom Inc., for Super Sons, for things like that, we should just say, no, you're signed up unless you tell us you don't want to be. Because invariably, like, someone's going to say 2 weeks in, oh, I didn't know this was a multi-part thing, can you get me all the parts? The answer is, by that point, no. There's already, like, we can't get part 1 of Super Sons, I don't think. So anyone who's coming into it from Teen Titans is like, too late.
Yeah, and Teen Titans we sold out of as well.
Yeah, and I think most of the Amazing Spider-Man parts of Venom Inc. are still available, but the Venom parts might not be, and someone's going to say, hey, do you have, the 2 Venom parts of this? And no, we can't get them anymore. So I wonder, like, starting with...
after you say, ugh, why?
Yeah, starting with... I only think that when I think about Venom. Starting with the next previews, because I think we're already probably too late for stuff like the all-new X-Men Venom crossover.
Speaking of Venom.
That may be, like, the new... Like, if it's going to be a intertitle part-to-part crossover... just saying, yes, you're going to be getting this, and if someone does the, why am I getting this? Well, here's why, and they can say no, and then we can remove them from the list, and whatever. I don't know. I feel like that's what we should be doing going forward.
Well, we never want to feel like we're tricking somebody or sticking them with a book, so we don't do it, but more often than not, people actually want it, and there's so many people that, not so many, but there are people that do the, why am I getting this? When it's a book they signed up for and they forgot why.
Sure.
and you have to explain it because they automatically think that we did something wrong. Like,
Yeah.
why'd you do this to me? So we already get that kind of, forgive me for saying this, attitude from
Sure.
people. So we may as well go ahead and do it.
Yeah.
We're never doing it at the expense of trying to trick you into buying something. We don't want you to be left out, and you can always refuse it.
And I feel with these sort of intertitle crossovers, it's an all or nothing thing. Either you're reading stuff you wouldn't normally read, like I'm reading Teen Titans this month because of Super Sons, because I read Superman and Super Sons.
Yeah.
So I don't want to
Same
miss
thing.
the third part of the story. But
I really don't feel like I'm missing out.
But I'm not reading Amazing Spider-Man for Venom Inc. because I could not care less and I really didn't like the alpha. So I'm just skipping Amazing Spider-Man for like 2 or 3 issues or whatever because it's of zero interest to me. So I don't think anyone who knows what's going on is like just reading Venom or just reading Amazing Spider-Man. They're either reading both of them or neither of them.
But by the other token, I guess, the next Amazing Spider-Man annual we signed everybody up for because A, it's written by Dan Slott, and B, it builds on story elements that happened in issues of Amazing Spider-Man,
Yeah.
and it's going in a different direction. Whereas if it was written by Mike Costa
Sure.
and drawn by Rafa Sandoval or whatever, we wouldn't pull it for Amazing Spider-Man people because it's got the only thing that it has is Spider-Man.
Yeah, usually when we're matching things, it's got to have at least the same writer. So, like, people who get X-Men Blue and X-Men Gold are going to get the corresponding annuals because those books' writers are writing the annuals.
Yeah.
Yeah, if it had been a thing where, like, James Asmus is doing a crossover, like, well, he doesn't write these normal books, so maybe this is a thing people wouldn't care as much about.
Right.
But again, maybe we should just be like, you know what, yes, until people tell us no. Because
And, I mean, you send out an email to everybody that says, if you're getting this, you're getting this now. And that's just on people to...
Well, I was going to
read.
say, we do send out emails and stuff, and it's so much harder to get people to say yes, even if it's something that they would ordinarily want to get, because that extra step of having to respond to it, they're not reading those emails or they're not sending those responses. It's just not something they're thinking about.
It's almost like every club member did not get an email that said, hey, look at this thing called Doomsday Clock.
Or metal.
And that book, Doomsday Clock, just keeps building with subscribers, which is great.
Yeah, that's a good problem to have.
But if as many people who were signed up for it now had signed up for it by FOCs, we would have ordered a lot more copies.
Yeah, we wouldn't have had so much time between the first print and the second print of issue 1.
Yeah. But anyway, that's a moot point because we have the second print back in. We have a strong amount of copies still.
Yeah, we're getting more in this next week.
And that's going to work well for everybody. And I don't want this to turn into us being like, well, this is what's wrong with everything. No, this is a new year. This is a fresh start, a clean slate.
Yeah.
We
got a bunch of ideas.
So another store did this thing that I thought, I kind of like it, I kind of don't like it. They did a club member amnesty sale.
Okay.
Where if you come in the 30th and the 31st, everything in the club box is 25% off. Like, hey, people that haven't been in a couple of months or whatever, come get your stuff now, you get rewarded for it.
I don't know
it's a
about
special club-only sale.
Oh, man. I'm not crazy about that.
Yeah, but I like the idea of... I've always liked the idea of doing something special for club members.
Yeah, but
you
I mean,
always push back a little bit.
Well,
but this is...
I think the use of amnesty made me think in a different direction. So
Okay.
I'm not crazy about the idea of, hey, you haven't come in 4 weeks for your books. Now it's more discount. Like, I
Sure.
don't love that. Like, that seems like you're rewarding the wrong club members.
What would you think amnesty would play into for a club member thing?
Like, basically, if we've kicked you out of club, you can come back.
Okay.
Like, that's... Amnesty is forgiveness. This
Sure.
this is a reward. That's a different thing.
Like I said, I liked it and didn't like it.
Sure. I mean, I definitely think there's some benefit in trying to do some fun stuff for subscribers, but I want to make sure that it's, rewarding people who are helping our business and making things easier, not making our jobs more difficult and
Sure.
costing us money. Like, that's the stuff where it's like, not you.
We have the best
The best.
guide for how long people have come in because it was 4 weeks ago today, December 1st, when our Christmas cards and subscriber Christmas gifts went into the boxes.
Yep.
Knowing that people don't necessarily come in during the month of December, or if they come in early, they don't come back, we put it in the first day of December. It's been 4 full weeks. We ask you come in once a month. That's basically 4 weeks.
Sure.
And if there's any subscribers who hear this, and the next time they come in, there is no card or gift for them in the box, it's because we pull them.
Yes.
If you don't come in over the holiday season, you do not get your holiday greeting.
It's just weird to be giving people a Christmas card on January 18th or whatever. It just doesn't feel right.
So, like last year, it was the C enamel pins.
Mm-hmm.
This year, it was prints from the French Comics Association.
Yep.
And they'll be gone soon.
Yeah.
And it's sad how many people, and whoever pulls them out of the boxes, I don't need to know names. I would like a count.
Yeah, sure.
I would like to know, of the 300...
What percentage were never picked up?
Yeah.
Sure. It's reasonable.
Yep. And yeah, it's the best indication. I mean, aside from pulling up an account and seeing the last time they were in.
Sure.
Seeing just how long it didn't work.
Yeah.
Oh, anyway, new year, clean slate.
New year, clean slate.
Hooray!
Patrick,
Yes,
is there anything in particular you're looking forward to in 2018? Doesn't have to be comics, could be anything. A movie, a TV show, an album, a life event, I don't know, a trip.
There's always Marvel movies that I'm excited for.
Sure.
The last time I
Avengers Infinity War, you won't even watch the trailer. How could you be excited?
The last time I was really excited for a movie, it was like Age of Ultron.
Okay. How did that go?
I liked it.
I did too. I liked it a lot.
it.
It's so weird to see that people kick back on that movie.
I also liked Last Jedi, so go there, do that, think of that.
Go there, do that.
Gosh, I don't know. I just so talking about the Christmas sales and knowing that we needed to hit a number we didn't hit. It was literally the summer of 2016 that I stopped worrying about the store. Because I worry about the store a lot. You do as well.
Sure.
And I've had some sleepless nights where I'm worried about the future and how we're going to weather certain storms. But it was mid 2016 that I'm like, I'm not worried anymore. We've made it. We're fine. And then the bottom fell out, and it's continuing to fall. And while we talked about being down maybe 7%, not 27%, 7% from the previous year, that's fine if we stay at that, but I don't know. I mean, I don't want us to keep dropping.
I don't think we'll see as sizable a drop in 2018 as we saw in 2017.
Well, Dal, I'm going to tell you this, and I hope you take it for the compliment it is, but there have been times that I've been really doubtful about our future, but your enthusiasm has turned me around.
Yay!
So you saying something like that makes me... Don't ruin the sincere moment.
I apologize. Please continue.
You saying that you don't think it's going to happen, you're a smart guy. You know, you have almost as much experience in this industry as I do. And if you firmly believe that, you have reasons, and I will trust in that.
Yeah, I mean, some of it is... an optimism that I think is necessary if you're going to continue to invest personally, emotionally into a business. I mean, it's very difficult for us to motivate ourselves if we think the sky is falling all the time. We have to feel like the things that we're doing are having an impact on our business, that are helping solidify a future that we want to live in as business owners. Some of it is that. Some of it is also... We're already seeing... internally some of the corrections that we're trying to make to, again, kind of weather an economic storm that we're in the midst of. If we are spending in 2018 what we were spending in 2016, that's going to be real difficult to do. So we have to adjust not only our expectations of what the business is going to be, but what money we're putting in to get to that expectation. So some of it is belt-tightening, and some of it is cutting corners, and some of it is maybe selling out of more stuff in the first week than we might have a year or two ago, because we know that first week sales are hugely important, more than they were 2 years ago. But we've also got ideas on how we're going to grow and expand the business. It's not just, hunkering down and waiting for the storm to pass. It's figuring out different things we can do, some big, some small. You and I have both talked about things that... from a conversation I'd had with a marketing person for a comics company, giving ideas of like, oh, this is stuff we could maybe try. It's not stuff that I'm necessarily comfortable with, and I don't mean that it's stuff that is, off-brand or difficult to convey. It's just things where I don't feel like that's my strong suit, but it's stuff that I'm going to have to grow a little bit as a business person to try and make some of that stuff happen. And hopefully it works out and it provides for the business. But if it doesn't, at least we tried something else. Some of the other things that we've been having conversations about, either moving the store, growing the store, maybe a second location. All of this is stuff where it's things that could conceivably correct some of the shortfalls that we've had in 2017. So all of that stuff is the enthusiasm isn't just like delusional, and it's not just...
Oh, if I for a second thought it was delusional, I would never buy into it.
Yeah. No, I feel like it comes from a place where it's like, it's optimistic, but, there are things we're doing. It's not just like, sure, business was down 20% this month, but next month it'll be up 5%. Like, where are you getting that number? Where is it even coming from?
And this may sound slightly horrible, but we saw these signs coming quite a while ago.
Sure, whole market's talking about it.
And have started making adjustments quite a while ago. Now everybody's talking about it.
Unavoidable.
And I feel that we got to panic early
yes.
and then started to course correct early, and the people that are getting hit with it now are just blindsided.
Sure.
And we were never blindsided.
No. The ways that we've run our business, I think some of the things that are making it additionally difficult for some stores, we weren't necessarily a victim to. The
fallout of the Pogs industry.
Yeah, basically. The collapse, more or less, of the collectible side of the market, specifically Marvel, is going to be tricky if you're a store that depends a lot on high-priced variants and lenticular covers and stuff like that. If the market isn't there, you have a lot of money tied up in stuff that you cannot liquidate. Most of our money is tied up in things like graphic novels that, if we have to, we can liquidate.
Sure.
We have a pipeline for making sure that we're not stuck with unsellable product for longer than we think we need to be. We want to give it a shot. We want to have things in stock that people might be looking for. But we are more than willing to cut our losses on things. And we wanted to make sure that the things we have in our store, we actually can't cut our losses on. You get too many copies of, issue 82 of a Marvel comic that came out last month. Well, good luck. That's not going to work out too great for you.
Yeah. To go back to your question,
what are you excited about for 2018, Patrick?
This is a part of my being, and you can attest to this. I rarely get excited for things anymore.
It's true.
It may sound sad. It's a little sad.
You're just getting older.
Yeah, and there's a lot of personally, there's some potentially devastating things on the horizon for my family.
Sure.
So it's hard to be optimistic with that, and those are things that I try to never let affect my day-to-day working environment, but they're always on my mind.
Sure.
And I'm not, you said, like, life things or trips. No.
No? Okay.
No,
hanging on Portland?
I do plan on a trip or two or three in this year, but I'm not excited for them. And honestly, if we were recording this in March, I will tell you that I was happy to have gone to Portland. But from this standpoint right now, I don't want to go.
Yeah, boy, we'll talk about that after the recording. The correct answer, by the way, was Superchunk has a new album coming out this February. That's what everyone should be excited about for 2018.
Did you catch my Superchunk reference?
I did.
Earlier?
I did. I was glad for it.
Okay. I said the name of the title, which is...
What a Time to Be Alive. I believe it is February 14th, but don't quote me on that. I think that's when it is.
Yeah, but Dow, they're not on tour or anything.
Well, they're not on a Midwest tour.
I do have tickets to see 4 concerts so far in 2018. What 4 are they?
Would you mind saying?
I don't mind saying. Fozzy.
Okay, when's Fozzy?
Fozzy is, I don't know, end of March maybe?
Okay.
Fozzy is end of March at Bottom Lounge.
Oh, wow, Bottom Lounge. Cool.
Yeah. Because, that's why I went, because it's Bottom Lounge.
Sure.
Yeah. Puddle's Pity Party.
Okay.
Are you familiar with Puddle's Pity Party?
I don't believe so.
He is a giant human being who's a clown.
Oh, okay.
Who has just a velvet voice.
Cool.
And he's very sad, and he doesn't so much talk as he just sings.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah. Richie Kotzen.
Okay.
Richie Kotzen, hilariously, was scheduled for October, and it got bumped to the Friday of C2E2.
Oof.
And it's in the suburbs. And then...
Gonna have to leave early that day.
And then, this fucking guy schedules a show that Thursday at Reggie's on State Street in the city.
Gonna have to leave early that day, too.
So much closer to me than the Friday show,
Goodness.
which had already been postponed.
Oh, golly.
So it's going to be difficult. That C2E2 weekend is already super busy for me for non-C2E2 reasons because that Saturday is Bacon Fest.
Oh, okay.
So we've already got, Mike Lee and I have our tickets for Bacon Fest.
Cool.
It always used to be during C2E2, so we could never go.
Mm-hmm.
But last year it wasn't, so I went.
Sure.
This year it is again, but
You're gonna go.
fuck it, we're going.
Yeah, sure.
And then, of course, as mentioned on previous albums, and yes, Dal's mom, I do like Taylor Swift.
T Swift.
And I'll be seeing Taylor Swift in June.
Yeah. Soldier Field, is that right?
Yeah. So something good will happen at Soldier Field for once.
No, something good is going to happen starting January 1st. The Bears will stop playing there for at least like 8 months.
Yourself, Dal, is it just Super Junk you're looking forward to?
Goodness.
Not Avengers Infinity War?
I mean,
Black Panther? Captain Marvel? What's the next one? What's the third one?
Ant-Man.
Ant-Man is third quarter?
I think is the third Marvel movie for the year, but I could be wrong.
Dark Phoenix?
No, definitely not excited about Dark Phoenix. I'll go see all those Marvel movies and all the superhero movies. I'll even see Dark Phoenix. It's hard to say I'm excited because there's such like a routine to them now
Yeah.
that I don't have like a special excitement for like the Han Solo movie. I'm sure the week before I'll be like, oh, this looks great. I'm really excited to see it. But it's not a thing that 6 months out, occupies a random thought in my head, I guess the two big things for me personally, Superchunk in February. Hopefully at some point during the year they'll come back and play Chicago on a non-festival date.
Yeah, it's been 4 years since we saw them last.
Would be great. Metro would be great.
We saw them in January of 2014.
Wow.
Yeah.
Goodness. The other thing for me personally, TFCon USA is coming back to Rosemont, so that's going to be late October, I believe. Very excited for that. They haven't announced a guest list yet, but TFCon usually gets some really good people.
Who's that colorist who works at Nick Roach? Well, if he's there, I need you to have him sign my cover.
I'll bring that back. Goodness, I've already forgotten his name.
That is a thing I am legitimately excited for at TFCon because it's a cover that Nick Roche penciled and I inked.
Yeah.
So if we can get the colorist to sign it, I'll be the only person that has that cover signed by all three creators.
Yeah. Hopefully, I've seen him at so many,
yeah, and Nick Roche is foreign, but the colorist isn't, right?
No, he's not.
So the chance of him being at a colonial show is more than likely.
Oh yeah, I mean I've seen him at.
You don't have to look it up right now. It's okay.
No, I'm curious now because I knew it because I've met him a few times, and for Josh Perez.
Yeah, that guy.
Yeah, Josh Perez. Yeah, I mean he
just signs his name with a weird JP.
It's like a JP,
yeah.
But he's a colorist who's worked on Nick Roach's stuff, and he's a huge Transformers fan. And I don't know if he's from the U.S. or from Canada, but he's from North America, and like he's been at BotCons and TFCons that I've seen him at in these areas. So I would be shocked if he wasn't at the TFCon show in October.
I'm excited to find the books of the year.
Yeah.
I'm excited to read a comic I don't know that exists, like The Sculptor, and to have it blow my mind, like Spinning.
Yeah, for sure.
Like I need
like Mr. Miracle, like something else.
Well, specifically like an original graphic novel, that kind of thing.
Sure.
The graphic novel of the year, but yes. I'm excited for Batman to stay as good as it is.
Sure. Knowing that guy has another 50, 60 issues he wants to do is great.
But yeah, I'm most excited for the things that I don't know, that don't exist yet.
Yeah, it's so much fun, each week or month to find that random book, that new number one where you're like, oh wow, this is really good. Like Judas is a book I wasn't necessarily looking forward to or excited about, but I love the first issue.
Yeah, talk more about Judas.
Judas is the story of Judas from the Bible, but from Judas's perspective. And
every story needs a bad guy.
And his kind of crisis of faith of how much is he responsible for what happened and how much is he part of a machine that he can't get out of. And yeah, it's...
Anybody who's worried about any religious connotations, don't be.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely using a more, less idealized version of these characters than, pale white Jesus with a beard. Like, they're definitely trying to say, like, well, let's look at what, this part of the world looked like in that era, and let's
But I just mean, if you're afraid, if you're not religious and you're afraid that it's going to be too religious, don't worry about that at all.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's necessarily making a case, at least in the first issue, to convert anybody. It's not, proselytizing or anything. It's saying, here's a story about
I literally
this.
don't know that word.
It's not preaching to people.
Okay. I mean, I figured out from context. I just never heard it before. Proselytizing.
Proselytizing. I might be transposing a couple letters in it, but it is trying to explore this character in this story from that character's perspective, and kind of asking him what he thinks about what happened in the Bible. And I liked it. I thought the art was great. I thought the story was interesting. It had a real interesting tone to it. Yeah, and stuff like that just pops out of nowhere. Like, that's a book that a year ago I wouldn't have said, like, boy, I hope
somebody makes a story about Judas Iscariot.
Yeah, I hope Boom does a really interesting Judas book. Like, that was not an anticipation of mine. But yeah, there's always stuff.
I'm
like
excited for that Ryan Hughes Logos book.
Yeah, that could be cool. Sarah Anderson has a new collection of stuff coming out in March or April. That's great. Yeah, tons of great comic stuff. I mean, literally every week there's at least something where I'm excited about it.
Well, I'm excited to find it as well in the future. Happy New Year. Thanks for listening.
And keep reading comics.
This has been Contest of Challengers. Thanks for listening. Keep reading comics. Challengers is located at 1845 Northwestern Avenue in the Bucktown neighborhood of Chicago. 773-278-0155. Keep up to date with new releases and events at challengerscomics.com. Like Challengers Comics on Facebook, follow @Challengers on Twitter, and help fund this podcast at patreon.com/challengers.